If you're facing challenges in your life, just remember you're not alone. Everyone needs a bit of support sometimes, and it is totally okay to ask for help.
Hard to believe, hard to believe.
Invisible barriers can be physical, social, emotional, cognitive, or sensory, or they can be the subtle ways society reacts, responds, or overlooks difference. They affect all of us in different ways across workplaces, schools, families, and communities. Each episode will hear lived experiences that challenge assumptions, spark empathy, and inspire action. My hope is simple, that by listening, we learn to recognize the barriers we can't always see and work together to remove them, one story at a time. This podcast has been recorded on the Gold Coast, also known as Kumbermeri Country, part of the Yugambeh language region and home to the saltwater people who have cared for this land and shared their wisdom for over 20,000 years. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay my respect to elders past, present, and emerging. If you have a story to share or know someone who's breaking through invisible barriers in their own way, I would love to hear from you. Reach out via social media or email and join the conversation. Welcome to Invisible Barriers, where we celebrate courage, community, and change. Okay, today's guest is the incredible Matilda, a recently graduated student from a local high school here on the Gold Coast. Matilda lives with cerebral palsy and communicates and moves in ways that differ from a typically developing body. She uses a Tobii Dynavox TDI-13 device with eye gaze technology, allowing her to control her voice output through the movement of her eyes. It is a powerful reminder of the many ways human communication can look, sound, and feel, and how important it is to create spaces where every voice is heard. In the lead up to this interview, Matilda and I exchanged several emails so she could explore the questions in her own time. Working alongside her support team, she crafted thoughtful, articulate responses that truly reflect her voice and her lived experience. It was important to both of us that she had the time, tools, and autonomy to express herself exactly as she intended. It takes a lot of energy to be able to communicate this way, and so Matilda pre-planned what she wanted to say and activated the button for each response using her eyes. If you want to see this via video, you can find this and every episode on our YouTube channel. I am so grateful she chose to share her story here, and I can't wait for you to hear from her. She has a huge online presence, so if you want to learn more, check the links in the bio for her information. If you think this story could help inspire positive change within your community, please like and share to help get this information out there. Without further ado, here is the first episode of Invisible Barriers. So we are here today to celebrate and introduce the wonderful Matilda, or Tilly, as you've introduced yourself to me. And we are so excited to hear all about your journey and your adventure over the past 17 years. People may have seen Tilly down at the skate park, or maybe down at the beach, or on her Instagram, being an absolute inspiration. But if you have not met Tilly, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm really excited to be interviewed for this podcast. I'm Matilda. I'm 17 and I just finished high school, which is exciting. For schoolies, I went to New York, which was amazing.
Very cool.
I've just returned, and for such an old city with old buildings, New York has done a great job at making things accessible. It is not faultless, but they're trying.
It's good.
Around 60% of taxis are wheelchair accessible. There are heaps of automatic opening doors, and many shops with steps have added small street ramps to help people get in.
Cool.
It was really cool to see how they're working toward making such an old place more inclusive. My favorite part was seeing the Statue of Liberty and watching 3 musicals. My plans for next year is to continue to study. I'm doing a diploma in business and marketing. I want to be a disability advocate and use my social media platforms to help make a difference. I chose this pathway because I want to share my experiences with the world and show how I live my life with cerebral palsy. I also really enjoyed business at school, which helped steer me in this direction.
Amazing. And we did talk a little bit before about where you're going to study, but the fact that you're I'm going to ask you to show everyone how that's pronounced, how they pronounce TAFE on your iPad, if you can, because I think it should be renamed.
Daft.
TAF. That is my favorite place. So you're going to go to TAF and study your diploma in business and marketing. How exciting. And your website, by the way, is so much better than what I can do. So you might have to help me out with my marketing this podcast when you get a chance. If you want a project, if you're welcome to help me out. Is that okay? Right. So can you tell me a little bit more about you? You mentioned that you had cerebral palsy. Can you please help me understand a little bit more about what that means for you?
So, a little about me. I have cerebral palsy, which basically means my brain and body don't always communicate the way they should. It affects my speech and mobility, but definitely not my intellect. If anything, it has made me more determined. I never let it be an excuse not to give something a go. I get through my day with help from my awesome carers and my family. They're absolute legends. I roll through life in my wheelchair, and I use an eye gaze device to chat. It speaks whatever I type out with my eyes. Pretty cool. That is how I'm talking to you right now.
Very cool.
When I'm not busy doing that, you'll probably find me at the beach, hanging out with friends, shopping, all the usual stuff my mates do. Oh, and I'm into adaptive skateboarding and surfing too.
That is unreal. So the adaptive surfing and skateboarding is something that I've seen on your Instagram and on your website, including the big green machine that features on there quite a bit. Can you tell me a little bit more about on the Gold Coast where some accessible places are? Could you give a shout out to any places that you would recommend if someone else is listening that uses a wheelchair?
If you're looking for awesome wheelchair accessible spots, Miami Skate Park is a must. I love when places make access really clear. It makes such a difference. Sometimes places are actually super accessible, but you only find out by accident because it is not advertised. That is why I love sharing what I find, so more people can get out and enjoy it too. Some other great options include Surfing with Disability Surfers Australia. They run the most fun, inclusive beach days with accessible matting and beach wheelchairs.
Cool.
You'll also find accessible beach mats and beach wheelchairs at Nobby's Beach, Miami, Broad Beach, Surfers, and Burleigh. And the City of Gold Coast website has heaps more info. The Cool and Gatta Gold event also has accessible matting right down to the sand for spectators, which is awesome.
That's good.
If I'm not at the beach, you'll probably find me at Pacific Fair.
The best.
It is super accessible, with heaps of lifts, flat entries to shops, and great food.
Yum.
A perfect place to hang out with friends and be independent. I'm also the youth ambassador for Skate Advantage.
Cool.
We are a not-for-profit that helps people of all abilities experience skateboarding using a specially designed skate frame. Someone saw Jessie and I skating in my old walking frame. They reached out to us and gave us a blueprint for an accessible frame that can use a harness for people with lack of mobility, and that's kinda how we started. The frame's built so anyone, no matter their ability, can give skating a go.
That's so cool.
If you're keen to try it out, check out Skate Advantage on Instagram. One of my other big goals is to go skydiving. There are accessible skydiving options here on the Gold Coast, but my mum's still a bit nervous about it.
Damn.
So I'm starting with airfly as a test run.
That is, I don't blame your mum for that. First time I went skydiving, I was 16, but only because I'd made my mum let me do it. So keep trying. And when you're 18, you're on your own. That's so exciting. And I love that the option's there already. That's going to be really fun when you get to do it. I love the way that you speak because you're very passionate and also really able to advocate for yourself and for the communities that are that need to be a little bit more shifted a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about that strength and advocacy and how you've become so good at it?
A strength of mine is that I love advocating for positive change in my local community, whether it is improving the physical environment or promoting social inclusion. I'm passionate about helping build a community that is more accessible, connected, and welcoming to everyone. I advocate in different ways, like writing emails or meeting with schools, community groups, and organizations to share my ideas and concerns. I also use my social media to raise awareness about accessibility and share my lived experiences. I enjoy attending events and concerts, and I recently went to the Gold Coast Youth Summit. This was a fantastic and accessible event that gives young people across the Gold Coast the chance to communicate, share ideas, and learn from one another. I also take part in leadership opportunities and make sure to connect with local MPs to share ideas and encourage positive change. A great example of advocacy in action is the Gold Coast Pacific Air Show. 2 years ago, I attended and found it only partly accessible. Afterwards, I wrote to my local councillor suggesting improvements. The best part? Next year's event is already planned to be more accessible, with extra beach matting to make it easier for wheelchair users to get around.
That is so important because it just seems like it's a pretty simple solution, but sometimes it feels like some events kind of forget to plan that in. So it's so good that you spoke out and make sure that anybody that wants to go can attend. So it's so cool how much you think about making things a better place. And like you said in New York, that it's 60% or pretty good, but definitely always room for improvement. It sounds like you're making waves and that you've found a lot of beautiful places that you can access with your friends. But I'm wondering if you can share a few of the barriers that you might have faced along the way.
One of the biggest barriers I've faced and still do sometimes is the lack of real accessibility in public spaces. You know, when a place says it is accessible, and me or my mum always do our research. But then you show up and the lift's out of order. Or the ramp is so steep it feels like a roller coaster.
In a bad way.
Yep. That happens more often than you'd think. There have been times I've been so excited to go somewhere, like a cafe or an event, and then I get there and realize I can't even get in the door because of a few steps or tables packed too close together. It seems small, but in that moment, it feels huge. It means missing out or having to rely on someone else, which takes away that bit of independence. At school, I've dealt with stuff like classrooms not on ground level, broken lifts, and people not really knowing how to communicate with me. Most of the time it is not that people mean to make it hard, they just haven't thought about it. Accessibility isn't just about having ramps and lifts, it is about making sure they actually work, and that spaces are designed for everyone. When that happens, it feels amazing. That is true inclusion, and that is the kind of world I want to help create.
From all of those barriers that you mentioned before, how do you overcome these challenges when you're faced with them?
As I've gotten older, I've realized how important it is to speak up for myself and let people know what I need. When I was younger, I relied on others, like my family or support workers, to do the talking for me. But over time, I've learned that using my own voice is powerful. It helps people see things from my perspective and challenges assumptions about what people with disabilities can do. Self-advocacy has built my confidence and independence, and it has helped others see how much inclusion and accessibility matter. I'm so lucky to have an amazing support network, my family, friends, teachers, and therapists who always encourage me to keep pushing boundaries and remind me it is okay to ask for help when I need it. Something I'd really love to see more of is accessibility being part of the plan from the start, not added on later. That is what universal design is all about, creating spaces that work for everyone from the beginning. Simple things like flat entries, wide doorways, and smooth paths make such a big difference. When accessibility is built in, it helps everyone, parents with prams, older people, and anyone who just wants to move through the world easily.
Yeah.
That is the kind of community I want to be part of. At school, I've been proud to make some real changes. I've worked with my school to improve access, things like new ramps, better pathways, and even getting a wheelchair-accessible bus for excursions, so I could travel with my classmates instead of separately. Now, they always book their accessible bus. Each year, I meet with my teachers and show them a PowerPoint I've made about how I communicate and learn best. It includes little strategies, like giving me a question first during discussions, so I have time to prepare my response. Small adjustments like that make a big difference, not just for me, but for everyone. It shows that when schools make the effort to be inclusive, everyone benefits.
Yeah, true. And you mentioned there universal design, and I think we as a teacher myself, we taught a little bit about universal design for learning, where we're taught how to plan our lessons and our content for any kind of learner to be able to access it. But I think it came originally from architecture, as a universal design is supposed to make sure that buildings, before they're even built, have everyone's interests at heart, including wheelchair users or pram users or tradies and all those things you mentioned. But does it always happen? I'm guessing some of them want to save a bit of money, don't they? And then comes Tilly telling them they're going to spend some money to fix it. Yeah. So when these challenges arise, how do you overcome these challenges when they pop up?
One of the simplest and most powerful ways to make a difference is to talk to the person directly. People sometimes talk to my mum or carers instead of me, which is annoying. I know exactly what is going on, and even though I don't use my voice to communicate, I still have plenty to say, I just do it differently. If you're ever unsure how to communicate with someone who uses a device like mine, it is completely okay to ask their family or friends for a bit of guidance. But the most important thing is to always address the person directly. For me, it means a lot when people speak to me the same way they would to any other 17-year-old. Little things like that make a huge difference. They help people feel seen, included, and respected. And that is what real inclusion is all about.
It's a really powerful message, because I think you saying that and sharing that with people allows them to probably make a few mistakes like I have today already. And for them to at least try speaking with someone who uses a device that they may have never really done before. And I definitely think sometimes it's that fear that they're going to do something wrong. But I love that you've opened up that space for them to make mistakes and to do things a bit differently as well, so that you have the opportunity to use your own voice. So it's a great message to people who may not have come across someone who speaks or communicates a bit differently. What about, do you have a message for anyone listening that may face some of the same challenges as you?
If you're facing challenges in your life, just remember you're not alone. Everyone needs a bit of support sometimes, and it is totally okay to ask for help. You don't have to face every barrier by yourself. There are people who care and want to see you succeed, and reaching out can make a big difference. Believe in yourself, keep pushing forward, and don't give up. Your voice matters, and your experiences can inspire change. You are capable, you belong, and you deserve to be included in every part of life.
That is so beautiful. And I really hope the people listening come to feel that way about their challenges that they face too, and they find the voice just like you have. So that's really inspirational. Is there anything that you haven't said yet that you'd like to say?
Before I roll out, make sure to check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Matildaonaroll, or visit www.matildaonaroll.com.au to see what I've been up to, or to chat. Check out at Skate Advantage on Instagram or their website for more info and to get involved with accessible skateboarding.
That's perfect. I'll definitely make sure to put those links in the show notes so people can find them, and make sure your website's on there, because I need to go and see exactly what you're doing to make sure that even if they're not on the Gold Coast, hopefully other businesses can take note of the things that you've shared and make improvements, not just in Australia, but in New York, at Tafe, anywhere around the world. I think that hopefully this message is spread, because it's so important. I have had so much fun talking to you, and thank you for being so amazing and kind and patient with me as I try and navigate this podcasting world. It's a bit scary, but you don't look scared at all. You're ready for skydiving, I think. Amazing. Anything else before we go? Would you like to sign off? Give a little wave to the camera. Woohoo! We did it!